All right, so I'm going to show you how to fix a photo that maybe is too dark or you just know that it can be improved in some way. First of all, you need to just open your photo in Photoshop, which you can just go to your main Photoshop homepage, and go open and just open it straight on your desktop. Mine already have loaded, so I'm just going to pop it here. So this is just a photo I found on Unsplash. And what I immediately noticed is that it's pretty dark. Um, I kind of zoom in and out to see, but what I want to notice is things that like I know could be improved. I just think it's pretty dark. It's kind of hard to see the models. Even in this little thumbnail, it kind of looks like they're in like shadow. So I'm going to show you guys how to edit a photo in Photoshop in a non-destructive way, which what we mean by that is, let's say I click on the layer right here, which just so you know, I am working in Windows Workspace Essentials. Um, but I'm going to unlock this. So I just clicked on my layer and I clicked the lock button to unlock it. And let's say I just immediately wanted to change the color and I went up to image in the top toolbar, adjustments, hue and saturation, and I just did something. Did like that, clicked OK. Over here, we'll see the problem is that was immediately applied to the photo, which means that it edited the photo. You can't take that back unless you go Control Z. But that is destructive editing because we can't control it. So I'm going to go back, which is Command or Control Z. Okay. So instead of going up here to my toolbar and immediately just applying something, I'm always going to use down here my adjustment layers. Right. So the little half moon button here, if you click this, any of these I choose. I can adjust, I can remove, it's great. So let's say I had curves, which brightness levels, curves, and exposure all have to do with like lighting and like the contrast and darkness of the image. The section down here, this is all color related. Okay. And then you go to the bottom and this is just getting in some fancy stuff. So I am going to do a exposure adjustment first. So once I click that, you'll see a new layer has been created, all right? And this, if I click on this, up here, this is where the edit or the like settings are for this exposure layer. So I'm just going to drag this and I can see that as I drag gamma, it's getting darker, offset kind of like washes it out. And I really just want to mess with the exposure and then kind of a combo of that and the gamma correction. I don't like using offset much because I feel like it just like washes it out. And what I want to make sure I'm doing is I'm keeping details, but I'm just giving it contrast. So what I don't want is I don't want the gamma to be so extreme that, oh my gosh, look, their hair is like clumping together into these black shapes. That's not what I want. I like preserving the details that were taken in the photo. But what I want to do is I just want to make sure we can like see our girls now. So if I click the eyeball on that exposure layer, you'll see that it just helped brighten up so that we can actually see our models. And next, I can also go to my color adjustments and I might add a some kind of actual like hue adjustment. I'm gonna go to hue and saturation just because that's simple. To me, exposure and hue and saturation are two very basic ways of editing a photo. So on the hue and saturation, if I drag up saturation a little bit, it helps make the photo brighter or the colors more intense. So if I wanted to give this a more kind of like black and white vibe, I could just drag down saturation, but I want to bring it up a little so it's a little more colorful. Now, to me, this is too much, right? When they start looking like they're neon pop art, that's not good. I just want a little bit. I want it to still look natural, but it's basically just helping them pop a little bit more. Good. Okay, so let's say that I'm happy with that coloring right now. Something I always do is I make a copy of my original image. So down here, this is my original layer. I am going to drag this to the little box with a plus sign, or I can right click and go duplicate layer. And you don't need to worry about naming it. I don't. But the point is now we have two of these. So I can kind of group these together and work on them, and I can always go back and see what my image was like before I began my editing process. So I'm going to click on this top one. I'm going to hold down Shift and I'm going to click on my top adjustment layer so that all of these are selected like so. Then I'm going to right click and I'm going to go New Group from Layers. And I'm just going to call this Edit. Here we go. Great. So now I'm going to show you how we can use smart objects. All right. So right now this is a whole group, right? A cute little group all together. But let's say I want to add other effects and I want to do some different effects that we usually can't use on multiple layers together. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to go to Convert to Smart Object. And once I've done that, you see all of a sudden it's all collapsed, all right? But don't panic because you see this little tiny uh, like page looking like button here. That means that this is a smart object. And a smart object essentially means that it is a Photoshop file inside a Photoshop file. So if I double click on this little smart object button, what's happened is it's opened up that one layer in a whole new Photoshop file. So I can change things here and I can mess with it and it'll update over here. So for example, let's say I wanted to change the edits. I'm not going to do it here because this is my smart object. This is my Photoshop file inside a Photoshop file. I'm going to just click over on the smart object opened up, and then I can just click and maybe add whatever other adjustments I want. Let's say for some reason I wanted to add a photo filter and give it like an orange kind of like photo filter, something like that. Great. Now to update this in the original document, all I need to do is just go File, Save. Not save as, just save. Okay, now let's go back over to the original document. And of course, if you have not done it so far, please make sure you save as and save to your Creative Cloud. Okay, so why do we do smart objects? It's not just to be fancy. It's so that we can add filters. All right, so if you go down here to this FX, these are different kind of effects we can do, but what I want us to look at is if we go up to your top kind of like toolbar, go to filter, and if you go to filter gallery or mess with any of these, you'll see what I'm talking about. I'm going to jump into filter gallery. Okay, so this new window popped up, right? And what it has is it has all these different filters and things we can do to mess with our image. So I'm just going to click on one. How about I don't know if I like any of these right now. I think I'm gonna go with the watercolor one once it updates. Ooh, yeah, watercolor. And then over here I can mess with it, the like intensity of things. Um, if it takes a second to load, don't worry. It's just because it's applying this like very specialized effect over everything. Okay, sweet. Let's say I'm happy with that. I'm just gonna hit OK. And then you'll see what's happened is it's applied that watercolor filter. And what's cool is it's like popped as its own little separate like attachment to the layer. So I can turn it on and off. It just always takes a second because it is like a larger effect. I can also double click on the little edits of it right here. There's this little tab. If I double click on that, takes a second. But it opens up this opacity level and you can kind of do a quicker slider adjustment of how intense you want this filter to be. So if I only wanted just like a little bit of a water texture, I might bring it down to like 25%. You zoom in and we still kind of have that cool texture happening. So this is what we want. We want to make smart objects. We want to use our color adjustments because all this stuff we do, it never damages the original photo. All right. We always have the original photo to go back to and to kind of rely on. Um, Other filters I like to do is if you're focusing on one subject, it's always nice to kind of like maybe blur the areas that don't matter, which I don't really need to do it here because they've already done it for the tree. But if I look at what Photoshop automatically gives me, it gives me the select subject button. So let's say I click that. And usually what it does is it selects what it thinks is your main thing in the image. So it grabbed the girls here. So what I want to do is select, I'm going to go up to my select up here and go inverse because I want to select everything outside of the girls. And then I'm going to go to filter and I might go to my blur, Gaussian blur. Oops, that's blurring all of them. That's not what I want. Well, oh well, I'll do it later. Anyway, just know that whatever blurs, so if I did apply a blur, it wasn't doing the blur I wanted, but let me just show you. So if I did like an iris blur, which means that I have a select area that is like, that I decide is not going to get blurred. And then everything else I make blurred. So you can kind of see how I drag and adjust this, see how everything outside of the girls is all of a sudden getting super blurry. So this kind of gives you just like a cool focused effect. I actually kind of dig that. So I'm going to do it like that and go okay. But again, like all filters, see here, because we've made a smart object, it's attached down here. So it's not affecting the actual photo at all. It's just applying it outside of it. Awesome. Okay. Anyway, that's how to do some non-destructive editing of photos.